Now, the game that I'm about to show you guys today is Agadmathar's best chess win so far. It was a blitz game, 3 minutes with zero increments on the clock. And Agad Matar was playing as white here. He starts off with e4. His opponent, who was approximately 220 above him, starts off with c6, trying to play the Karukan defense. Agad Matar occupies the space in the center, as you should, against the Karukan, and here comes d5. Now, here, three things can happen. You can go into the advanced variation of the Karukan by advancing the pawn. You can take this pawn and go into the exchange variation, or the main line, which is to just develop the knight normally so that you are defending the pawn as well. So Agad Mata chooses to go with knight to c3, which is the Karukan defense main line, as I just told. Opponent takes the pawn here, which is not the right way to proceed as well. Also, if this happens and opponent does take back with the knight, what you should be doing here is put out your bishop, play pawn forward, develop your pieces solid. Knight would come out maybe on d7, queen to maybe c7. You'll develop the king side later on. But here, what happens is instead, the opponent chooses to develop the knight onto f6. Now, this variation is also fine, but what happens here is once a Mata takes, an opponent takes back with the pawn. Black has lost complete center space. There is no central pawn now, whereas Akad Matar has one. So this is objectively slightly better for white, of course, because you have this additional central pawn. Your pieces are more in a better frame to be developed. Bishop can come on to e3. You can put your queen out, maybe even onto f3 there, and then castle queen side, and suddenly you will see the pawn storm coming up from the king side. So that can happen in a game like this, but here Agarwandar chooses to develop the knight first onto f3. Bishop comes out onto g4. And in the Karukan, the light square bishop is an important piece to be developed. It can generally come to f5 or g4. And sometimes, in some rare cases, there can be a position where both these squares are not very good for development because they are either occupied already or there is some attack going on from the king side to begin with. Then you should not be developing the bishop early. Rather, try to defend this pawn further. Keep it defended, because otherwise, if say c3 was already played, as soon as bishop comes out, queen comes out onto b3, and that is objectively bad because you are now going to lose this pawn, or you are going to just mess up this pawn structure by playing it forward. And then suddenly you see bishop also coming out onto c4, and that bishop and queen battery will always be lining up towards f7. So that's bad for black. So generally developing the bishop is very critical in the Karukan. Here, of course, bishop is played first to c4, asking opponent some questions. Opponent decides to develop the dark square bishop, preparing to castle. Castling as soon as possible is the right way. Agad Mata develops the bishop now onto e3, which we already discussed that this can be one of the plans. Opponent castles, and now Agad Mata plays queen to d3. Now queen d3 again, just trying to develop the queen, also preparing to castle on the queen side or king side, keeping both the options available. Opponent now starts the attack on the queen side, pushes upon a5, which is kind of passive as well because your knight isn't developed yet. Sorry for that, knight isn't developed. You can develop your knight, get it into active position, maybe attack the bishop as well, and try to do something with your pieces rather than just pushing the a pawn. Here, Agad Mata plays a4, trying to stop the pawn, and now knight comes out onto a6. Here, c3 is played by Agad Mata. Opponent goes back with the knight onto c7, trying to make sure the knight isn't captured for the bishop. Though Agad Mata will not do that because this bishop is very nice and active on this diagonal. Now knight goes back, and then Agadmata tries to just kick this bishop backwards by playing h3. Now bishop goes back onto h5, and now that's bad because you could have simply opened up the g file as well for the opponent, or you should have just gone back on the same diagonal. What this allows is even a move like g4, and you are just looking backwards. Yes, you might think that yes, you're attacking the queen, but the queen can simply escape from there, and it's not a problem. Eventually, this bishop will be trapped because you can get your knight onto h4 and take this bishop. Bishop pair is important, as we all know. So here, Godmother plays a knight to h4 himself, not letting the opponent now take. And if now the bishop goes back, he can also simply take with the knight as well. Now, opponent plays a knight to d5 here, trying to attack the dark square bishop. And here, Godmother chooses to take the knight. And it's a good decision because after the opponent takes, you have created one more weakness for the opponent. There's now an isolated pawn in the center. It doesn't have any guards, both one guard just left and doubled up the pawns, and the other has just been lost. So now, if you see structure wise, position wise, Agad Matar is ahead in this game. And now he plays a g4, trying to go aggressive, attacking the bishop. Bishop goes back, and now Agad Matar chooses not to take the bishop, though taking the bishop was the best move as well in this situation. But Agalwala chooses to place the knight here. The idea is if the opponent takes, you can take back with a pawn as well, opening up the g file for the attack. Yes, you can castle still. And if the opponent doesn't take, you are attacking the dark square bishop as well. Here, opponent plays queen to c7. Agad Matar pushes the h4. Now rook is centralized. Opponent just now Agad Matar just keeps his king out of the danger. Just pushes it on to d2. And it always adds some additional solidity to the pawn structure here. King, it can also move on later on if required. Opponent now places the bishop onto f4, trying to exchange the dark square bishop, which doesn't get exchanged, but Agadmatar pushes the h5 pawn first, asking opponent to take the knight finally, which does happen. And now queen takes. Again, trying to improve the position of her pieces, attacking the bishop as well. Opponent now takes the bishop. Agadmata takes back with the pawn, and now queen comes on to g3. Now, queen g3 isn't scary, no matter how much it looks scary, because A, your queen can always come back. B, you have rooks lined up which are connected. So even if a check comes in, you can simply go up. There's not a problem. So at best, this queens can be traded. It's not a scary move. Yes, it is attacking the e3 twice, but still you can escape. There's no threats as such. So Agadmata still tries to defend it, gets the rook into activity e1, rook to e1, and now opponent plays rook to d8. Now, rook to d8 doesn't make sense here because you are only defending your pawn, not doing much. Rather, do a rook lift and then swing it over onto e6 to attack the pawn further. That could have been a much better move, but he thought of defending the pawn, which didn't make much sense. And now Agadmata plays h6, trying to ask questions you want to take or I will take. And once Agadmata takes, there's a checkmate coming out onto h7 eventually, very quickly. Yes, opponent can escape, but then you can probably push the pawn and give away the pawn as well if required to checkmate the opponent. And this looks scary. This is scary now. The pawn has moved forward. If you take, you again open up this file. Rook takes h6 and then threatening to take the h7 as well. If you don't take, which does happen in the game, an opponent plays pawn forward, which is again a worse move because now queen takes pawn is unstoppable. And once this happens, you can see it's a checkmate in one. That's what exactly happens. Opponent couldn't do much here. It is not actually checkmate in one. It can be saved and delayed. Like you can play queen to f2 and lose the queen, and then try to put the rook left, so that there is no immediate checkmate. But what happens is opponent takes here the pawn, and just the game is over here. So a decent game, very helpful and instructive as well. How to develop the pieces is very important in the Karukan, and if you are not very aware of it, you should not be playing the Karukan. You have to be thorough with your opening order, which I don't think the opponent was here, though he was highly rated. But Agad Matar played like a good player here. He was very solid, didn't take much risks, and just went on with the pawn attack, and then eventually mating up with the queen on g7. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do let me know your feedback. Keep watching and sharing. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. And I shall see you tomorrow with some interesting and instructive content like always. Thanks for your time. Take care. Bye bye.